everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar, our first of many to come. And thank you to all the panelists and all those who have joined via Zoom and via Facebook. So I would ask that we all mute ourselves and we don't show video. I think the four panelists are the ones that I will request them to show video and also do the same on my side. So just to give a brief intro, I'm MASHUDU MANNDE, the founder of Zwonaka MLM Holdings. We are a BBBEE advisory company for private and public sector, where I myself have been in the space for quite some time now. It's been over 15 years. And along the journey, I worked for the Department of Trade and Industry, where I was part of the team that drafted the very same legislation that we'll be talking about, the BBBEE legislation. And I've worked for Transnet, IBM, and Amazon, where I was assisting them in terms of BBBEE compliance. So in terms of Zwonaka, we provide services to assist companies to meet the BBBEE compliance. Because what I've realized is that throughout my journey, there's a big gap between SMMEs, who are the actual intended beneficiaries of the legislation, and also at this webinar, what are the things that we'll be looking at? So we'll be looking at the BBEE codes. What are the impacts as an individual? And also, who are the qualified beneficiaries that are able to participate into the BBEE space? Even above that, we also look at how can SMMEs benefit on BBEE, where we've got a representative from Department of Small Business that will take us through the different initiatives that they're currently offering as Department of Small Businesses. And also the last one is just the BBEE Commissioner will also take us through in terms of what are some of the fronting activities that we need to be cognizant of as Black-owned people, because if you are not aware of that, you end up being involved in fronting activities and while you're not aware of that. So with this one, I would like to also introduce our panelists. We've got I'll start with Zwonaka Make. He's a Chief Director for Enterprise and Supply Development at the Department of Small Business. So he will take us through the different initiatives within the small business and where are the opportunities for SMMEs to penetrate on. Then we've got Tshidi Masemola. Is a compliance officer at the BBBEE Commission. She holds 5-year experience in assessment and analysis of major transaction, compliance reporting by JSE listed companies, and providing technical advisory services to clients, which consist of EMEs, QSEs, and SMMEs, both in the public and private sector, regarding the implementation of BBBEE policy and monitoring. So Tshidi, she's a go-to person if you need further clarity in terms of BBEE and opportunities within BBEE, as she will be giving us a high-level presentation. Then we've got Irisha Luhanga, CEO of Redefine Human Capital, knows how crucial it is to connect entrepreneurs' business with talent individuals. She understands that the key to a company's success lies in the satisfaction of growth of its employees. She has solidified her reputation in the human resource services field as a human to get this done with world-class professionalism and integrity. So Irisha, she's already participating in the market. So for her, she will have to tell us in terms of what is the overview and the landscape of BBEE within the ICT sector and also within some of the sectors that she'll be participating on. Then the last one, we've got Busi Rapekwani. She's the CEO and the transformation legacy. She's an entrepreneur, development expert who is passionate about empowerment and growth of entrepreneurs. Her work focuses mainly on supporting and creation of sustainable small, medium, micro enterprises by emergent entrepreneurs to the extent that they thrive and contribute optimally towards the socio-economic transformation of the country. So Vusi will also dive deep in terms of telling us on some of the initiatives that they are currently doing as transformation legacy, giving us an overview of ESD, also telling us how can we be able to bridge the gap between small and big companies based on the experience that she has gained in the space. So with that, I would like us now to move over in terms of what is the purpose of this webinar and what is it that we're trying to achieve. As we are aware, or maybe some of us are not aware, that BBBEE is one of the key legislation to drive transformation and also to redress what has happened in the past in terms of closing the gap of inequality between different races. And if we implement it correctly, it has so much potential to enable Black people to participate into the mainstream economy and create sustainable jobs, and also to eradicate poverty. We are going to look at how do we, as small Black SMMEs, how do we identify those opportunities? How do we align ourselves properly within the economy so that we are able to create and achieve those jobs? And how do we market ourselves using the BBEE tool? For an example, if you are a 100% Black-owned company and you are an EME or QSE, you automatically qualify to get a level 1. What does that level 1 mean? How do I take that level 1 and use it as a marketing tool for me to be able to penetrate through the economy? So the level 1 means that for every company that is doing business with you as a level 1, for them, when they do their own BBEE rating, they are able to gain 135% back. So that means they're able to gain 35% extra for you as a level 1. And as a level 2, you are on 120. Same principle applies for every organization. Hence, you see these big companies, when they do their procurement opportunities or their tenders, they will say they want level 1 to level 4, because level 1 to level 4, those levels gives them 100% BBEE recognition. If you're a level 4, it means that for every company that's spending with you, for every rand they spend with you, they're able to recognize back 1 rand back. If you're level 1, they are able to recognize 135% back. So by that, logic tells you that companies will pay more attention in terms of doing business with companies that are level 1. So that is one of the marketing tools that you need to take to go out there in the market. Without wasting any time, I think I would like to hand over to Tshidi just to give us an overview on the BBBEE legislation and also what is the purpose of enterprise development, what is the purpose of the BBEE Commission. Tshidi, over to you.
Good afternoon to everyone. So I'm just basically going to take you through the presentation where we're going to outline the ESG element and also some of the elements within the codes of good practice. So if you could perhaps give me a minute and let me share my screen for the presentation. So I'm going to be taking you over the overview of the BBEE Act and the ESG element as a whole. So the first slide talks to the background of the commission and where we come from as an institution. So you can see from the slide that we originate from the Constitution of South Africa of 1996 and the Bill of Rights. And then thereafter, the act was taken out of the Constitution and established as its own act within the law refinements of South Africa as the BBEE Act 53 of 2003. So post that, there was a lot of misalignment within the sector, the BBEE sector as it is, and through the implementation, where things such as the finding practices, the misalignment, and the inconsistent in the interpretation took place. So they saw it fit that it's about time that the Act be amended so that it can cater for these new practices that are coming up that and are threatening the effective and efficient implementation and interpretation of the Act. That's when the BEE Act came out as Act 46 of 2013. And then there was again of the 24th, it was gazetted on the 24th of October 2014. And then on the 1st of May 2015, the Codes of Good Practice came into practice. So on the 24th of October 2015, this is where the trumping provision came into effect. This is to say that if there's any law that it's in logheads with the BEE and it's a BEE matter, the BEE Act shall prevail. So the main aim is to redress what has been done in the past due to the apartheid era. So in order that the equality and the equity and inclusive economy is created within the economic sphere. Okay, here it's where the BEE Commission, who we are, where in the BEE Commission comes from there. So the BEE Commission operation commenced on the 1st of April 2016, and then on the 6th of June 2018, the BEE regulations were issued in terms of Section 14.1 of the BEE Act by the Minister, following a 30-day public commentary period. So the BEE Commission is implementing its compliance and enforcement strategies simultaneously, both education, awareness, and the investigations. So these are our processes and timelines. So the first one that we have is a complainant, which for one to be part of, they need to fill in their Form 7. So we've got up to 12 months in terms of a formal complaint when one lodges a complaint with us. So we've got up to 12 months to investigate. And then we also have a process called the ADR, which is the alternative dispute resolution, to say that if someone who's in the wrong feels like, you know what, let's not go through all these processes. I come in now to say that I am in the wrong. How do I now remedy this process or this wrong findings that you have on me? And then there's also post the 12 months, the finding where they're going to publish the findings and the recommendations. So we have up to 12 months. So depending on the complexity of the case, so it could be before 12 months or after 12 months, but should the process take more than 12 months, we usually write to clients and request them for an extension to notify them that your case has not been finalized. Can we now continue to request an extension so that we be able to assess and investigate the case further. Then we've got advisory opinion. This is one of the very important ones, where we've got an explanatory notice on the procedure. And then our advisory opinions are non-binding based on the facts that would have been submitted or presented to us. So the time period is 30 days. So we've got major registration certificate transactions where it's based on the threshold, which is 25 million as gazetted by the minister. So even those transactions that are less than 25 million, we still say that if you want to check the compliance of that specific transaction, feel free. It's voluntary if it's less than 25 million for you to submit that specific transaction. And then the certificate we issue within 10 days. And then we're going to give you a feedback on the merit of the transaction, which we usually internally call an assessment letter within 90 days. So the assessment tells you if there's any aspects of this transaction that are not aligned, if within the shareholders agreements that there's clauses that restrict Black people or empowerment from taking place, we usually, state such clauses and notify you on how you can remedy those. And then we've got compliance reporting of the Section 13G, which is for SITAs, JSE listed entities, organs of states, SOEs, and the sector council. So we consider the report within 90 days also. So after the 90 days, we're gonna issue you with a form and also offer advice in terms of which elements were not favorable and how you can improve on those. And then we've got a written clarification within 5 days. So it's between 1 and 5 days. So the written clarification, it also comes in a form where the specific provision within the act that you do not understand or you want interpretation on, and then we're able to assist and provide you with that specific clarification. So in terms of Section 9 of the B Act, the minister is empowered to issue the codes of good practice. So we have the generic codes and we also have the sector codes mentioned within the economy. So this is also applicable within the public and the private sector. And then code series 000, it is based on principles. So the code, this is where we have the codes. So we have 5 codes all in all, which in usual terms, we usually call the elements. We've got the ownership, which carries 25 points. We've got the management control, which carries 19 points. We've got skills development, which is at 20 points. We've got enterprise and supply development, 40 points. And then we've got socioeconomic development, which is at 5 points. So points achieved will result in a B recognition status. Bear in mind that the ownership element, the skills development, enterprise and supply development are a priority. They are all priority elements. So this is the recognition chart where it states that based on the measurement of those 5 elements that I have been talking about, that if you score 135 points, that's where you're going to be a level 1 contributor. And then 125, you're going to be a level 2 contributor. And then level 4, it's at 100%. And then if you score anything less than 50 points, that's where you're going to be at level 8. Anything less than 40, you are a non-compliant contributor. So we do not have a level 9. If you come across a B certificate with a level 9, it's invalid. So based on the code series 000, we classify measured entities based on the annual total revenue, gross receipts, or allocated budget. So we've got what we call an exempted micro enterprise. This is an EME and a startup enterprise. So the turnover is between 0 and 10 million. So however, this is different within the construction sector and the transport sector, because within the transport sector, it's still utilizing the 2009 version. So it has not been aligned. And then the construction sector, in terms of EME, the threshold differs. And they also differ within the EME sphere. We have what we call the BEPs, and we also have what we call the contractors. So within this specific recognition, there's no verification requirements. You only utilize a SON affidavit or a CIPC certificate. So no more accounting officers' letters. And then they have an automatic level 4. So the enhanced recognition sits at 51% and 100% Black-owned EMEs. And then we have what we call the qualifying small enterprises, which are the QSEs, which are between 10 and 50 million. So within the QSE, you have to comply with the QSE scorecard, and only SANA's accredited verifiers or professional agencies are required to issue you out with a QSE certificate, should they be a need for one. So there's also an enhanced recognition for 51 and 100% Black-owned QSEs. They only utilize a SON affidavit. So the moment you have less than 51% Black-owned under the QSE, you need to undergo a verification process with the SANA's accredited professional. Then we also have what we call the large enterprises, which is about 50 million rand. Only a SANA's accredited verification process should be followed here for you to be issued with a B certificate. So as of 1 January 2017, IRBA auditors ceased to issue B certificate. So bear in mind. So based on today's session, we felt that it was going to be very precise if we unpack the enterprise and supplier development for everyone to understand, as it also caters the SMMEs, as we call them, the EMEs and QSEs within our field. So the main aim of this specific element is to strengthen the local procurement, enhance the local supplier development programs, and increase financial support towards Black entities. So the measured entity can provide financial or non-financial support to beneficiaries. So the aim is to strengthen, as I've indicated, the local procurement. So it is quite important that within the measurement of the specific element, 40% sub-minimum apply to the points of each criteria. This is to say that in total, it is important that the 40% be maintained, because the moment the 40% sub-minimum is not adhered to or it's not maintained, it will result with the measured entity dropping a level down on its BEE status. So you will at least need to score 10 points for preferential procurement, 4 points for supplier development, and 2 points for enterprise development. But I will take you through that as we unpack the scorecard. So the ESD element measures the preferential procurement, as I've indicated, the supply development and enterprise development. So beneficiaries of the enterprise and supply development are EMEs and QSEs, which are at least 51% Black owned or at 51% Black women owned, and also the 100% Black owned. So the enterprise development contributions are recognizable on an annual basis. So there is a distinction between a beneficiary of an enterprise development and that of a supplier development. An enterprise development beneficiary is any qualifying beneficiary not within the measured entity direct supply chain. And then a supplier development beneficiary is any qualifying beneficiary within the measured entity direct supply chain. It's quite important that you pay attention to this, because it's impossible that as a beneficiary, you're being labeled as an enterprise and supply development, because clearly from now you can see, and also from the scorecard, that these are two different criteria. There's an enterprise development and there's a supplier development. So the exclusion of imports are subjected to entity having a developed plan. So it's important that when you are being appointed as an enterprise supply development, that a plan be established. So the plan must show the clear objectives, the priority interventions, the key performance indicators, and also the implementation plan as to how that specific development is going to be carried out. So before any enterprise and supplier development can take place, it's quite important that a SWOT analysis be conducted so that the measured entity understands what kind of development you seek and what kind of assistance you need as a beneficiary. So this is the enterprise supply development scorecard. So we're looking at the first criteria, it's the preferential procurement. So the scorecard is in this way: 5 points for BE procurement spent on all empowering suppliers based on the BE procurement recognition level as a percentage of the total measured procurement spent. So the compliance target sits at 80%. And then the second one, it's 3 weighting points for all empowering suppliers that are qualifying small enterprises based on the applicable BE procurement recognition levels. It is also based on the total procurement spent. So the third one also is based on the micro enterprises. The second one is on qualifying.
It looks like we have lost Tsholo. I think let's give a moment to reconnect again. What she was showing us is that she was showing us a scorecard, whereas SMMEs, we need to be able to know that big corporates, they always have target to spend with us as small Black-owned SMMEs. So on that scorecard that she was showing us, those are the points allocated to each and every SMMEs when you do business with them. So we just need to be cognizant and be able to know how many points do these companies need to spend with us, so that when we approach them, we can tell them upfront that I'll be able to, when you do business with me, you'll be able to get the following points on the presentation that she's showing us. I think she's back. Tsholo, please take over and just be cognizant of time. Let's try to, so that we can also have other discussion. Thanks.
Apologies for that. Okay. Okay, so this is the scorecard that caters for the preferential procurement, and then it has the specific rating points and the compliance targets. So there's also a bonus point for procurement spent on designated group suppliers. These are the youth, these are the women, these are people with disabilities, people, the military veterans, people staying in rural and undeveloped areas. So we've got the second one criteria, which is the supply development. So the supplier development is on annual, it's based on the annual value of the supply development contributions made by the measured entity as a percentage of the target. So it's based on the 2% of the NPAT. And then we've got the enterprise supply development, which is at 5 rating points, and it's 1% of the net profit after tax. So there's also bonus points within this element for graduation of one or more enterprise development beneficiaries to graduate to being a supply development level. And there's also bonus point for creating one or more jobs directly as a result of being a supplier development initiative by the measured entity. So one of the challenges that we also come across as the Commission within the ESD, it's treating preferential procurement the same as the enterprise and supply development, failure to identify qualifying beneficiaries, measured entities recognizing the same beneficiary for both, as I've indicated that these are 2 separate criteria, and then beneficiaries not being able to produce some affidavits during the procurement. It also includes the financial dumping on the beneficiary of the enterprise for purposes of verification. You find that the money was received, but the implementation did not take place. Failure by the measured entity to pay invoices on time, improper planning to what to include under or exclude under TMPS. Poor monitoring of the long-term agreements by the measured entity, and failure to enter into agreements with beneficiaries. So when you enter into an enterprise supply development initiative, there needs to be an agreement that governs how the whole implementation will take place. So we've got what we call, okay, where was I? Okay, we've got the prohibition and the penalties based on the Act. So it's the same across all sectors. So it starts from the lodging of complaints in accordance with Part 4 of the regulations. So Section 13N for normal offenses about confidential information and obstruction of the administration. 13O prohibits printing, misrepresentation of status, providing false information to verification agencies. And then penalties, natural person, it's a fine or up to 10 years imprisonment. So 10 years annual turnover for jurisdiction person based on the magistrate court jurisdiction. So the latest report on ESD element based on all the certificates that we've received as the B-BBEE Commission on our portal, it's quite clear that the average of all certificates, it's at 51.20%. So this is the average of all organs of, this is to say that based on the different sectors that we have, agri sector there, as you see, it's at 28. So the construction sector, the financial sector, the property sector, at the lowest, the average score across all sectors is 51.20, as I've indicated, and 60 sectors scored above the average, except in transport, property, financial, and construction. So this is based on the National Status Report available on the B-BBEE Commission website for the year 2020. So in conclusion is to emphasize that B must not be a company strategy. It must form part of the company strategy and not be a tick box exercise. So the most important thing is to remove obstacles to transformation, including addressing the lack of financial support and market access for Black businesses. So these are our contact details should there be any more questions, and should you need to get in touch with us from the Commission. Thank you so much, MASHUDU.
Okay, thanks Tulu for that. Just two questions from my side, and maybe it will also assist the SMMEs. What do we mean by measured entity? Who's measured entity?
So the measured entities are usually the large enterprises that are between above 50 million. These are entities that implement BEE based on the 5 elements of the Act. And then based on their scale, they are obligated that they must empower up and coming small entities within the industry, such as the EMEs and QSEs, which we all call as SMMEs.
Okay.
So it's all in all entities that recognize BE points. That's a measured entity.
Okay, no, thanks. I think towards the end of the session, we're going to take questions. So for now, if you have any question, just note it down, and then we'll come back to you, and then the speakers will be able to address your question. The last one, can you just give us an example of financial and non-financial support that as SMMEs, we can go to these big companies and start engaging them in terms of those opportunities? Can you just give us an idea? What is it that we can go to them and ask for?
Okay, so the kind of support that they offer in terms of financial, it could be a loan or it could be a grant. So as I've indicated that a beneficiary that undergoes this specific program, there has to be a SWOT analysis and there has to be an agreement. If it's a loan, it must state what are the repayment terms. But then the moment it's a grant, then there is no repayment terms. So it's quite important that when you are being identified for that, it becomes clear within the agreement, which one is it? Is it a grant or is it a loan? And then in terms of the non-monetary, it could be that you as MASHUDU, as the CEO of, so the CFO of the entity, and I as Tshidi Enterprises, I need assistance from your side in terms of when you conducted the SWOT analysis, you realize that in terms of accounting, I'm very bad. The finances within my entity are at, a striking point. So you as MASHUDU, assist in compiling, my invoices and making sure that everything is in order. Then you'll be able to recognize that as the non-financial initiative that you took to empower me as a beneficiary.
Okay, no, thanks for that, Tshidi, and also for a detailed presentation in terms of BEE. For us, some of us, it took us many years to fully understand BEE, and I see you have tried to really summarize it and simplify it, and hopefully the audience here will be able to take it home and indulge further on it. So the presentation is shared on the chat. Those who are having any challenges regarding downloading it, they can just drop an email, and my colleagues will take down your email, and then they will send you the presentation directly. So moving over to the next speaker, we'll go to Mzo from the Small Business Development, just to take us through in terms of what is it that they're doing as small business development, and also what type of support are they giving to SMMEs? As we know that now during the pandemic, most of SMMEs have closed down, and they rely on government to assist them in order for them to be able to come back and participate into the economy. So Mzo, just take us through the initiative that you're currently doing, and also guide us as SMMEs in terms of how do we access those opportunities, give us some leads in terms of what is it that we need to do, and also what is it that you expect from SMMEs for them to be able to participate into your program. And then it will also be great just to show us a stats to say, currently you have been able to fund so much SMMEs on this initiative, if that is possible. Thanks, Mzo.
Thank you, MASHUDU. And thank you indeed for the invitation to participate in this webinar. All right, so thank you, colleagues. So I'm from the Department of Small Business Development, and I'm going to take you through just briefly some of the work that the department has been doing. Essentially, the type of support that we provide to SMMEs is generally around these 5 areas. The first one is, of course, the all-important financial and business development support services to small enterprises in the country. We are also concerned about the provision of infrastructure to small enterprises, of course, in the various sectors of the economy. Colleagues will know that infrastructure is one of the key issues that the small business segment really needs, and the department has put up its hand to say we are more than happy to contribute here. And of course, many businesses have said, yes, sometimes it's very necessary to have financial and non-financial support, but of course, without market access opportunities, the businesses are as good as dead. So we also provide market access opportunities, both in the public and private sectors. We have, over time, tried to prioritize industries and sectors with good job creation potential. Amongst these, we count the manufacturing sector. We also have the agricultural sector, and in other provinces like the Eastern Cape, there is also a specific focus on the automotive sector. And of course, lastly, and I'm sure colleagues will recall this, the sixth administration has accentuated this point that we need to make and create hives of economic activity in townships and rural areas. So the department then, together with its agencies, SEDA and SIFA, have developed programs that make a contribution towards the resuscitation of township and rural economies. So since the pandemic, we have tried to come up with some programs that would respond accurately to the challenges that this sector is facing. So we came up with the COVID-19 Debt Relief Fund that was administered by our agency, SIFA, together with the growth program. We also later on, after we realized that most businesses had now sort of reached a point of stability, and we needed to focus now on the efforts to resuscitate township and rural economies. So we came up with TRAP, the Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Program. And number 4 here, as per the preceding slide, because of our acknowledgement of the contribution that the manufacturing sector makes to the economy, we then came up with the Small Enterprise Manufacturing Support Program. And I am happy to tell you that the program has reached very interesting times, as many people have applied, and we have tried to support as many businesses as possible. And we are seeing that the transformation that government wants to see in the space will be realized with the passage of time. We also, Chair, have the Business Viability Program, and this will look at businesses that have been severely affected by COVID and now need some financial injection in order to stabilize and ensure the viability of their businesses moving forward. And the last one is the Business Recovery Program. I'm sure many of us are alive to the fact that government has come up with the ERRP, the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Program, and the department then came up with the Business Recovery Program, which will then feed into the bigger government ERRP. So we have been using these sort of as our key response programs to what has happened since last year. So what do the numbers tell us? From the debt relief program, we did about just over 1,500 SMMEs to the tune of 514 million. With the growth program, here we saw very little appetite, and we're only able to do 5 to the tune of 34 million. Now with TRAP we have about, I think, 8 sub-programs, but the ones that we listed here are the ones that sort of gained more traction in the space, and we saw a lot of people coming forward and applying, and we're able to then support the numbers as provided there. And the Small Enterprise Manufacturing Program, it only started late last year, and we've only been able to do about 50, but covering about 467 million, which is not bad at all, considering that we did not have such a huge pipeline to work with. But after having promoted and marketed the program, we have seen an uptick in terms of the number of people that have shown interest and applied. And for the business recovery, we've only done about 68 to date. So in the interest of time, let me not dwell into this, but the manufacturing program is very, very important given its linkage to the government-wide reimagined industrial strategy, which places manufacturing at the epicenter of economic development. And we have been saying that there are not a lot of SMMEs that partake in the space. And we as a department would really like to encourage SMMEs in the space to come forward and apply, because there are a lot of opportunities. And so we prioritize furniture manufacturers, iron and steel, chemical, agro-processing, as just the key that we would like people to apply for. And through our agency, SEDA, we have programs that encourage entrepreneurship. As colleagues will know, our entrepreneurial levels in the country are low, and we've been saying if we want to change the space, we need more people coming into the space. And so we really like entrepreneurs that are also in this platform to spread the word that the Department of Small Business Development and its agencies indeed do have programs to support. So I want to jump to this collaboration with other role players as an ecosystem facilitator. So we have said to SEDA, stop wanting to be part of the role players in the space, providing some of the services. Let us now change and have SEDA play a role of an ecosystem facilitator and dictating what BDS services should be provided, like incubation and all of those things, acceleration programs, so that it is clear in terms of the services that are available in the space and what government thinks should happen in order to ensure the transformation that colleagues have been talking about here. And of course, the participation of SMMEs in the mainstream economy. So we then have different programs for different sizes of businesses, or depending on the business life cycle of the business. So for small and medium enterprises, for instance, we have in particular access to local markets, programs, incubation, and this one very, very important, quality and standards testing, advice and implementation. Because what we found in the space is a lot of people want to participate, but some of the products and services maybe do not meet the market expectation or standards. So we then intervene and ensure that we provide that support so that their programs and products can meet the standards. Access to technology and facilitation of access to finance through our agency, SIFA. So, okay, I won't repeat this. It's the same as the previous slides. It contains similar information. This, I just wanted to bring to your attention that things are not only happening at national. We have SEDA and SIFA branches across the country, and we have number 3 there, collocation points. The collocation points are when we put together SEDA, SIFA, and ourselves, so that people can, our clients can reach and be able to access our services. Okay, this is the last slide. I just wanted to bring this to your attention to say we have this comprehensive enterprise and supplier development program. It's anchored on this enterprise support network. So we use a lot of the CEDA supported incubators and accelerators. Some are private sector funded. So we have brought everyone together to say, what are the services that we need to provide to our entrepreneurs in order to ensure the spirit of entrepreneurship, and that we provide comprehensive ESG support programs for entrepreneurs to be able to partake in private sector value chains. So we have then been able to put together this program. It runs to about 36 months, and by the time you get out of the program, you will be developed and be able to write your own business plan and be able to understand your finances, be able to improve your product. So product development is one of the key services that is provided here, and we will ensure that we provide you with quality standards, and we ensure that in terms of technology and innovation support, you get all of that, so that should you be in a position to seek financial support in the private sector or in the finance market, you are able to put together your pitch deck and are able to articulate your business as well as the product and service offerings that you have. And at the end of the day, we want to ensure that by the time you leave there, at least your business is put in a position where you will be able to grow and expand, and you are ready, if that's what you desire, for export markets and all of that. So that information is provided in the entire program, which runs for 36 months. I will leave it there, Chairperson. Thank you very much. I finished 2 minutes before my allocated 15 minutes.
All right, no, thanks. Thanks, Muzo, for that one. So as an SMME, we always hear that there's so many red tapes for us to be able to access those funding and grants from government. What are some of the things that you have learned SMMEs doing that is like an oversight, and then you can advise them in terms of when they do their proposal, what is it that they should try to mitigate against so that their proposal can be able to add value and attract the officials within different departments to consider that proposal?
Well, I wouldn't say they're doing anything wrong. I would just maybe say that the most important thing, at least for us and other funders, is that you need to show understanding of your market and be clear in terms of how your business will generate profits, because you are in business in order to make money. So if you apply for a loan, for instance, from CIFA, it's very important to demonstrate through your financial statements how the money will be generating cash. So cash flow projections are very important. And of course, being in a position to articulate what pain points, if any, your product or service is trying to address in the sector. Because as you might understand, some of the sectors are already saturated markets. And if you come in as a new player, you need to show how your business or your product or service will make a difference in the lives of your customers or clients. So that for us is important. And of course, I don't want to repeat the point about cash flow projections, because that's important. That's what makes the business. Without cash flow, positive cash flow projections, it is unlikely that you will receive financial support, for instance, from financiers in the space. So it's important to show how your business model shall generate profits. And of course, your understanding of the market, if you've done your market analysis and who the competition out there is.
Okay, no, thanks for that, Muzo. So these programs that you presented, I guess that they are open for any SMMEs that want to participate on them, and there are no prerequisites. Are there any prerequisites that we should be cognizant of?
No, anyone can apply. They're open as long as, of course, the SMME is 51% South African owned. You can apply. The prerequisites I know are there for the manufacturing program. You must have been in operation for a year, but we give exceptions where necessary. If the business is innovative enough or shows great potential and viability, we are then able to waive some of the prerequisites embedded in the program. The same applies for most of our programs.
Okay, all right. No, thank you. We'll come back to you when there's any question from the floor as later on, and then you can be able to address those questions. So without wasting any time, I think now we'll move over to our next speaker. We'll go to Busi to give us an overview of the impact of ESD to the SMMEs, and also just to dive deep and tell us what programs are there out there in the market that we can tap to when after we leave this webinar, we can just go and start applying for those programs that are already existing out there in the market. And furthermore, from her experience, what is it that she has experienced, she has noted, if there's any appetite from the corporate to participate into the ESD space, more focusing on now during the pandemic. Are the corporates still having that appetite to comply to ESD, or they've now withdrawn from participating into ESD? What is their take in terms of giving us an overview of the entire ESD landscape? Busi?
Afternoon, MASHUDU, and afternoon to everybody listening in today. I'm glad to be part of this discussion. I think it's very important. Just before I delve into what you wanted to find out, I firstly want to introduce myself. I'm the founder of the Transformation Legacy, and we are an entrepreneur development company. We specialize in the growth and development of small businesses. And our mandate really is to grow small businesses through the imparting of skills, knowledge, and tools that they need to build sustainable enterprises that can leave a meaningful legacy. So that's who we are in a nutshell and what we are about. And we work with small businesses to develop them, as well as working with corporate organizations to implement their enterprise and supply development initiatives. So we also act as a bridge between small businesses and corporate organizations. And with regards to just the overview of the impact of ESD, there's been statistics that state that 90% of businesses in our country are made up of small businesses. Yet 70% of small businesses fail within the first 2 years of operation. So there's a big alarming challenge that we have, that small businesses fail within the first few years of operation. And the reason why enterprise and supply development exists is to really address this challenge and to start building up small businesses so that they can succeed, grow, and thrive and become sustainable enterprises. And the only way we can grow our economy is through small businesses, but it's through small growing businesses that are sustainable in the market. So that's what makes enterprise and supply development relevant and so important in our economy. And over the years, we've seen that since enterprise and supply development has been implemented, there's been access created for small businesses to build their capacity, to grow their business, to get funding, where ordinarily small businesses wouldn't get funding opportunities. And there's also opportunities for small businesses to now start working with larger corporations that they wouldn't ordinarily have access to. So enterprise, ESD has made a big difference in making sure that there is a bridge between small businesses and large corporate organizations, and to, just move small businesses forward so that they can participate meaningfully in the economy of our country. However, I would say that the next thing that we need as ESD ecosystem players is to have a national goal or national benchmark or even national standard of what does impact look like in terms of ESD. So I'm in this discussion because now we can talk about how do we make sure that we start building up this conversation around having just this national benchmark, so that year on year, as stakeholders in this space, we can talk about, what is impact, what does impact look like? And we can start measuring it and reporting it back, to small businesses to show the impact that ESD has done. But that doesn't take away from the work that's been done so far. I think there's been great opportunities that have been created for small businesses to gain access to their development, as well as access to funding and new markets. Then in terms of your second question, you wanted to find out what types of ESD programs exist. So for me, there's two segments of development intervention. The first segment is business capacity building, and the second segment is business growth building. And in terms of the business capacity building, within enterprise and supplier development, you as an entrepreneur can get access to training, you can get access to mentorship, access to events, industry-specific events, or access to tools that you need to build your business acumen and to build your business skills so that you are equipped to grow your business. So these programs are providers who implement and supply development programs. So the channels that you can use to access business capacity support. Then the second segment in terms of business growth, that would be gaining access to funding or gaining access to markets, or as well as gaining access to grants. And again, under enterprise development, there's programs available from corporates where you can gain access to funding, or in a form of loan or grant, or even from enterprise and supply development service providers. So what I mean by enterprise and supplier development service providers is organizations such as ourselves. So we provide, if we provide implementation of enterprise and supplier development programs, and we work closely with corporates for us to do so. So what I would suggest to entrepreneurs listening in today, if you would like to find a program that would be suitable for you, is to find enterprise and supply development providers that are available within your province or within your region, and contact them to find out what type of programs they have running at present. Or what you could do if you want to access programs directly through corporates is to, firstly align with the industry, align the corporate with the industry that you're in. So try find corporates within the industry that you operate in. You can contact those corporates and find out, who's responsible within their enterprise and supply development divisions, and ask them what type of programs they have available. So those are the two avenues that you can actually take for you to gain access to ESD programs. And MASHUDU, your last question was around, are we making progress, or are corporates taking ESD seriously? I think we've got, I must say we've got a long way to go until we get to a stage where all corporates understand the importance of enterprise and supply development programs. I think there's still quite a number of organizations that are doing this as a tick box exercise. So we know that, you know, within BE legislation, it is somewhat legislated. So a lot of people are doing it just to comply with the BBBEE codes. However, there are a few corporate organizations that have, you know, really committed themselves into making sure that ESD results in impact and making sure that the support that they provide to small businesses, you know, really translate into those businesses growing. So yeah, I think there's a long way to go until we get to a point where there is enough buy-in and understanding of the importance of ESD. Because ESD is not just about contributing towards BBBEE and ticking a box. It's also about transforming our economy. And the only way we can transform our economy is through the development of small businesses. So yeah, we still have some work we need to do there.
No, thanks, Busi, for that. So in terms of transformation legacy, do you also offer services nationally, or where are your offices based, so that those who want to engage you, then they can be able to do so immediately after the webinar? Okay.
Our head office is based in Gauteng in Midrand, and we have a satellite office in the Western Cape, in Cape Town. We also operate nationally on a project-to-project basis. Currently, we don't have any other projects outside of Gauteng and the Western Cape. But if they want to get hold of us, they can contact us on info@transformationlegacy.com. I'll leave our contact details in the chat box if anybody wants to get a hold of us.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, no, thanks. I see your colleague Tulu, she has shared your profile on the chat. So I think that will be able to give the audience the necessary information, and then they can take it from there. They can engage with you offline in terms of any information that they need.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Busi. We'll come back to you when we take some questions later on. So our last speaker will be Irisha. I saw you have been on the queue for quite some time now. And from your side, I think you can just give us an overview in terms of the ICT space with regards to SME participation and transformation, and also what are some of the challenges within the ICT space, and also the solution. It can, in terms of the challenges, it can even go, it can be a broader one in terms of what are the challenges within the SMME space, and what are some of the solutions that you can propose in terms of going forward. And also just indicate what are the lessons learned as a practitioner in the space, and what advice or take notes that you can give us as SMMEs, so that we know that going forward we are able to mitigate against those challenges. And also as an HR practitioner, can you also give us a high-level overview of skills development, so that those of us who are unemployed, we can be able to position ourselves and look out for those opportunities that the corporates are giving?
Thank you, MASHUDU. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time out to be part of this conversation. I think it's a very important conversation. MASHUDU, I hope I remember all your questions. That was quite a mouthful, but let me just introduce myself quickly. So on this call, I'm part of Entrepreneur Connect Africa, or EC Africa. EC Africa is the brainchild of JT Communications, and it was launched in 2014. It really is a digital movement focused on transformation, creating an ecosystem of entrepreneurs who consciously are working to empower themselves, their businesses, and others, you know, across South Africa and Africa as well. I also sit on the board of SA Women in ICT Forum, and this is really a platform advocating the increase of women in South African ICT sector through policy frameworks, programs that really contribute just to getting women to sit on boardrooms, to be trained up, and really about capacity building. And my daytime job is I'm the CEO of Redefine Human Capital, which I started in 2012. And this is really a business that looks after entrepreneurs in terms of training, support, mentoring. We have a training academy. And then I also just support corporates in terms of headhunting and HR support. So in terms of your first question, MASHUDU, in terms of the overview of the ICT space at the moment, in terms of SMEs, you know, SMEs have been recognized as a critical driving force just to alleviate some of the economic challenges that South Africa is currently facing. I mean, as you know, that we have got the highest youth unemployment rate in the world. And officially, I saw Bloomberg posted an article last week saying that our unemployment rate is now sitting, our overall unemployment rate is at 34.4%. So you're looking at 34.4% of South Africans that are currently unemployed. And, you know, these are the trends that we're seeing at the moment. And in terms of the unemployment, there's a huge focus on youth as well as Black African population. Also in terms of the unemployment, it's more favorable to men than to women. So there's a huge concern in terms of that. There's also a growing concern for the lack of information and communication technology adoption by SMEs, especially SMEs operating in the townships. And, you know, there needs to be a bigger focus in terms of SMEs, you know, why aren't they adopting ICT factors? What's affecting the ICT adoption? And what are the guidelines for sustainability? And I mean, you know, prior to last year, February, all we could hear was 4IR, 4IR. But I mean, COVID and 4IR have really disrupted our social and economic fiber, as well as the global community. So there's a there needs to be a huge focus in South Africa just to harness the opportunities of 4IR, especially from a global competitiveness, and to make it more inclusive. So I think in terms of the overview, in terms of ICT, there's a lot of work to be done within that space. And I think government needs to play quite a strong hand to make sure that the labor force is ready from a technical skills perspective to deal with that. So, you know, I've recently spoken to entrepreneurs, and I mean, a lot of the complaints are the same. Cash flow, you know. The sales cycles are taking longer. So for someone to close a deal, it's now taking 6 to 8 months compared to 2 months. And then for clients to pay these entrepreneurs, even that process is taking longer. Another challenge that SMEs have come to me is really not fully understanding how to optimally create processes in their own businesses, which could free the business owner to focus on diversifying their products or just selling, you know, just trying to get more deals closed. And another challenge has been not understanding and benefiting the opportunities. And I mean, throughout this discussion, we've heard ESD, so enterprise supplier development. But that is really where, as entrepreneurs, we need to focus on. We need to understand what is enterprise supplier development and what is the gap for us as entrepreneurs. So as you've heard, you know, ESD is really, it's about a company spending on helping Black-owned businesses grow. And these are suppliers to the organization and non-suppliers. You know, it takes up a huge weighting from the scorecard. It's 40% in terms of the weighting with a 4% bonus for certain criteria. So really, I would encourage entrepreneurs to firstly understand which companies are offering ESD programs, if their own clients are offering ESD programs, and then have discussions with their clients in terms of what is the client's procurement policy in terms of buying goods and services from previously disadvantaged businesses or individuals. You know, chat to their clients in terms of, is there a supply development program currently that the company is currently running? And as part of that, to really understand and have the discussion as to how does this program work? Is it a one-on-one discussion? You know, how would the company assist this SME in terms of improving their performance? You know, would this company be open to either giving the SME a loan or funding if that's the need from an operational perspective? So I think that is a huge focus. And, you know, I mentioned to a founder the other day that it's important for SMEs before they even agree to go on any ESD program, because I mean, obviously the big corporate will be getting points for the SME to be on the program, but the SME needs to have the expectations outlined from the word go. So in terms of, you know, if the SME is going on the program, what is the benefit to the SME? From a monetary perspective, from a learning expectation, and also from access to markets. I think a lot of people go on all these wonderful ESD programs, but it's not necessary to say, I want money. It's more about give me access to markets. You know, let me showcase what I can do, what I can provide from a product or a service perspective, because that's really what it is in terms of growing a sustainable and profitable business. So from an ESD perspective, I think there needs to be a huge focus on that. MASHUDU, I hope I've answered all your questions.
No, you did. Thank you very much. I'm just also being cognizant of time, and I think we should also open the forum for our participants here, those who have questions. Now is the time for you to address your question to the relevant speaker, and then they will be able to assist you. So I think I've noted a few questions down, and also looking at other questions that will be posted. So there's one that said, what are the requirements as an SMME to be able to be an exporter? So I think this one goes to Mzo in terms of those who want to participate in the export business. What is it that they need to look for? And then are there any requirements that you can be able to share with us in that space?
Hi, Chair. Okay, so generally with exports, you obviously need to have the relevant papers for export. We have done this through your former department, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. What is it? ITEC, that's responsible for import and exports. So you get the relevant documentation there. From our end, what we do is we ensure that the product meets all the requirements, the packaging and all of that. And at times, we facilitate the movement of the goods. We have done market access opportunities, for instance, for some SMMEs, we have transported them together with their products to wherever they needed to go. But essentially, the most important thing is to get the appropriate permissions from the DTIC, and we help you with everything else related to the product.
Okay, no, thank you. And the other question goes to Tshidi. Do you have a database of the ESD programs that are currently being implemented out there, so that SMMEs can have a picture in terms of what's currently happening, and they can be able to participate into those SMMEs?
So as the Commission, we do not have a database for initiatives that are being implemented, but what we do, we've got a program called the advisory opinion, the programs that they want to establish or implement. So we assess those specific documentation for compliance in terms of the element. So, and then we offer that assistance. Otherwise, we also have a practice guide on ESD. So the only thing that we have from our side is a practice guide on how one establish the specific desired initiative, but we do not have a database where it labels the types of initiatives they can embark on.
Okay, thanks. While we're still on that, there's also another question that says, who are the beneficiaries of BEE? Are foreign nationals also qualified to be beneficiary of BEE?
I was actually waiting for this. I knew at some point in time someone would ask of this. No, foreign nationals are not. I mean, the BEE Act is quite clear in terms of who is a Black person. So beneficiaries are anyone that fits the prescription of the definition of Black in terms of the BEE Act. So foreign nationals, no.
Oh, okay. And what about Chinese? At some stage we heard that the Chinese also qualify to be beneficial. Can you just give us a clarification on that one?
Listen, the Chinese also, they would fall within the prospect of when were the specific people naturalized in South Africa. So it's one of those situations that I would not directly say, yes, they qualify, yes, they do not qualify. So you got me in a corner there. You got me in a corner.
No,
but it's based on when we're being naturalized.
Oh, okay. No, I once came across, there was a court order that indicates that not all Chinese qualify to be the beneficiary of BEE. Only the one that came into South Africa before 1994, and then they can prove that they
were naturalized before that. Yes, which now goes back to the definition of Black in terms of the prospect of BEE. And again, I must say, MASHUDU, that we also, I mean, as the BBEE Commission, for us to identify that the specific people are Black, we follow the guidance of the Home Affairs in terms of these people, if really they are Black or not.
Oh, okay. No, thanks for that. Then,
all right, thank you.
There was another question, but I see Mzo has answered it. And let me just check also on other questions that are there. So Mzo, on your side, the program that you were presenting, do they cover all the sectors, or is it only for specific sector?
Yes, Chair, the programs are for all the sectors, except for the Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Program, which has about 8 subsectors that it covers, some of which were listed: textile, Chisanyama, open air, restaurants, personal care, salons, that is, bakeries. I'm trying to remember them at the top of my head.
I think you've given us a clear picture in terms of what is it that it covers. And I see on the chat we have shared some business profile so that you can download them and have some insight in terms of what are other services that are being offered by the panelists that are here, and also our partner, which is EC Africa, in terms of JT Communication. So you can just download those profiles and have a look at them. Then this question will go to Busi. How can we use corporate ESD as a way to assist in getting contracts for our business?
So the objective of enterprise and supplier development is to ultimately integrate small businesses into that corporate supply chain. So that is the ultimate objective, so particularly under supplier development. So the main mandate there is to develop that corporate suppliers so that they can become sustainable enterprises. So the first step would be enterprise development. And as those businesses grow, they can then graduate into becoming supplier development beneficiaries and start doing business with corporates. So the best way to do that is to look at either your current clients that you have. So if you've got any corporate clients, you can approach those clients and ask them whether they've got any enterprise and supplier development initiatives. If they don't, you can put together a proposal to them to ask them to provide you with support as an enterprise. And ask that if you're already supplying them, that would fall under supplier development, so they gain points from supporting you. If you don't have any clients that you can approach in the corporate sector, then you can identify any potential clients in corporate that you could potentially work with, and put together a proposal to them so that they can support you as part of their enterprise and supplier development initiatives.
Oh, okay. So thanks for that, Busi. And Irisha, can you just give us one advantage in terms of skills development on the codes? What advantages are there for unemployed people that they can look at skills development and be able to get opportunities, whether it's through learnerships or any other programs that the skills development offer? What does skills development offer to unemployed youth?
There's so much at the moment for unemployed youth, depending on which sector they decide to actually focus on. So, you get learnerships for unemployed youth and for employed youth, for organizations that go that route. It really does impact their skill spend. Big corporates can also apply to the SETAs and then ask for funding to actually run that learnership. There's quite a few organizations that are now also having skills program, and then they would also benefit from a skills spend perspective. So yes, I mean, I'd say for unemployed youth, look out there, see what is out there. I also know with small business and also with SOEs, they're also offering quite a few programs depending on what it is that you want to study. I mean, I remember years ago, I wanted to learn how to become an STF, which is the Skills Development Facilitator. And for example, Services Theatre was offering that free for unemployed individuals. So there is opportunities in the SOEs as well for free training.
Okay. No, thanks for that. And colleagues, I see we've run out of time. And I fully apologize for the 3 minutes that we've taken. We actually have undermined the time frame. We should have, when we plan, make it a 2-hour discussion, because there are so many burning issues in terms of transformation. And I think this is a good start in terms of setting the tone out there, because what we have realized is that we always rely on government to come and create this awareness. So I think now is the time as the private sector to take it among ourselves and participate and assist government in terms of sending the message across. As you can see, with the panelists, we've given them minimum time to take us through the key areas. If time permits, we should have scheduled this for 2 to 3 hours, but then that it was not possible to do so. So what I would like to do now is that I would like to thank everyone who has participated into this webinar. And then we are still going to have other webinars there on the pipeline. We're planning on having them, and we'll invite other key stakeholders. And to our panelists, we thank you very much for coming here and sharing this information with us. And we know that without information, we will forever be excluded from participation into the mainstream economy. When you talk about BEE, there are so many opportunities that one can be able to penetrate. We just need to be educated, and we just need someone to create that awareness in terms of bringing that information into our eyes, so that we understand, even when you go out there to engage companies, to say, this is what we do, and then this is the impact that one will get. With all of that, I will say thanks very much, and look out in the social media through Facebook and also through LinkedIn for upcoming events. And for those who have posted questions that we didn't address them, they can check our profile and send us those emails, and we'll share those emails. I think we are going to share also this webinar. There will be a podcast that will be on YouTube and also on ECA Africa for those who joined late, and for those who just want to have a refresh while listening to this podcast at home under their comfort zone, they can do so. As the information, there's so much that we can do. And I see there's, Mzo was just addressing some of the questions. So with that, I would like to say thank you, everyone, and have a great day ahead. We look forward on engaging you on other transformation discussion that we'll be having. This is just the beginning of many to come. We are here to change how the market has been operating. We are going to disrupt the entire market, and we are the game changer in terms of what we want to achieve. We want to see Black people participating into the mainstream economy. That is our main objective. And the government has made the BBBEE legislation as an enabler for us to be able to participate in the mainstream economy. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day ahead. Bye.